ISO 27001 Annex A 8.3 Information Access Restriction. So let's start off with a definition of what it wants us to do, and then I'm going to show you how you can quickly and easily satisfy that for ISO certification and the audit. Access to information and other associated assets should be restricted in accordance with the established topic-specific policy on access control. Okay, so we're working our way through these technical controls, right? And what you're seeing is a lot of repetition of things that we've already covered, and this is another one of those. This is about implementing the technical controls, the technical aspects of the things that we've already covered in Annex A 515 access control and 518 access rights. What do we need to do to satisfy the standard? We need a topic specific policy on access control. We've got topic specific policy on information classification and handling, and hand in hand they go, about what it is that we can do with data, what levels of data and how we protect that data. We've also done a control tutorial on roles and responsibilities and segregation of duty. All of these are coming into play. What we need to do here is we need to implement that technical implementation of the policy and the things that we've said that we've got in place. So this is about making sure that the access rights that we have defined are in. If we're doing role-based access control and we've defined it in an RBAC, then it's about implementing that and making sure that we have covered that. Please go back to those tutorials. Please go back to those videos. If you covered them, then this is a nice easy one for you, right, to implement because you've already done it. If you haven't, then go back to those and you will see that they're covered off. At a super high level, what are we looking at here? We're looking at about tying in access control based on information classification. We're looking at technical controls. So authentication technology, credentials, certificates to access. We're looking at about the systems that you use, things like Active Directories, built-in authentication technologies into systems or tech that allows you to put in access based on role, to put in the privileged access that we've just previously looked at, and technically distinguish and separate out from that. The only thing that we need to do here is what we have done previously, which is apply the policy that you've got, that you've approved, that you've written, apply it and technically show it in operation. The role-based access that you've got, apply it and show it in operation using the technology that's specific to you and the tools that you have at your disposal, whether that's some kind of single sign-on, whether that's an amalgamation, whether that's system by system. You've got to put in the technical controls now around this access. So restricting access to data. We're protecting the confidentiality, integrity and availability of that data. We want the right people with the right access at the right time to the right data. We don't want to have an open situation where everybody can access everything, and we're going to be managing, when we covered it in access control, about people moving role, about how we handle their access rights, and about when people leave the organization. This is all built into user management. It's a technical control and a technical implementation, and as long as you do what you said you were doing in your policies and in the previous tutorials, and you can technically evidence that in operation, then you're going to pass this with absolute flying colors. So to recap, have policies and procedures in place, assess your access requirements, perform a risk assessment, implement controls proportionate to the risk posed, keep records of everything, right? All the records of everything. So the processes, the technologies, the risk assessments, keep records of everything, and test those controls that you have in place to make sure that they're working as intended. So it's all well and good putting in a technical control, but periodically you're going to have to test that. So make sure that you can test that and you can evidence that. What are the top mistakes that we see, or I see? Top mistakes are not restricting access when people leave. Right? Be that in your HR leaver process, that the moment they hand in their notice or intent to leave, that you've got something that happens about restricting or removing access, or it's at the point that they leave. A mistake is you just didn't follow it. You didn't follow your own process, right? So what am I saying here? I'm saying do what you say you do, right? Evidence that you do what you say you do, and you're going to be absolutely golden. Not matching your classification policy is another mistake. If your classification policy says something and your technical implementation of access control doesn't match what your classification policy says, then you're going to have an issue and potentially you're going to fail, right? So this is around about implementing the things that we've seen previously. Recap again, have an access control policy, implement your access control policy, have a process of access, requesting it, all the way through the lifecycle management to its final destruction, including their privileged access, which we've already touched on and we've already looked at, and you're going to be absolutely golden and document and keep records of everything. My name is Stuart Barker. I am the ISO 27001 Ninja as we work our way through the technical controls of Annex A 8. But until the next tutorial, peace out.